Gotta love it. All right, okay. I think we on. Hold on, let me get my little. I gotta get a person, man. You know, all the big ass. Assalamu alaikum world. I gotta get a person, man. All the big ass got a person that be doing their stuff in the back, man. I need a person, man. Inshallah, I'll probably get my wife to do it. Hold up, hold up. You know them lives. They got to warm up anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
ain't nobody came on yet.
not yet. One person is, and it already got one person on there, one share. Whoever you are, that one person in that one share, we just started. We appreciate you. Of course, let me reiterate: we ain't getting no money out of this. We ain't looking for no clout. we just some good brothers. You know, we some good everyday brothers, and we just trying to pay it forward, man. We trying to put a certain we got a certain message. Like so okay, let me share this stuff in our groups, and we're gonna get started. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Inna alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. خصوصا على الخلفاء الراشدين المهديين أما بعد. Where's the masjid? Can I put this in? Is this suitable for Tajdeed Sunnah?
Yeah.
Or is that just the
Yeah.
curriculum stuff?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
No.
All right. So, good morning or evening, whatever, boys and girls. Alhamdulillah, we got a hot topic today, man. Really, really hot topic today. First and foremost, I want to say we love everybody for the sake of Allah. Let's first and foremost, let's throw that out there. This is some tough talk. Maybe we should call this the tough talk round. This tough talk, man. We some everyday guys. We some everyday dudes. You know, we all from the neighborhood, man, and that's what. So we launching this new platform. Alhamdulillah, it's called the Sunnah for Us. So let me say this first and foremost. Before this, the first video as a part of that whole platform. All of my Arab, my Pakistanis, you know, you got to say the Pakistani with a B. You got with a ba. There's no P in the Arabic. My Pakistanis, we love y'all. We love y'all to death. We love y'all to death. We just want y'all to hear us. I've been wanting to say this and a lot of stuff that's associated with this topic. And we in our group, our admin group, man, we go for hours, y'all. Like sometimes I wish I had the permission of our brothers of our group where I could just record the conversations. Y'all will pick up so much history. I'm talking about from within the community, within the neighborhood. So with that being said, like, please don't let this offend any of my political connects, our political connects. We love our brothers. You know, my sheikh, Sheikh Rami, he's out of my first sheikh, my big sheikh, who you know was like my dad. He's Pakistani, Indian Pakistani. I mean, Hafidhullah wa rahmatullah alayh. So we love him. We love him. We love him. We just noticed that I ain't gonna say notice, but when I came home from the joint, I just kind of noticed that there was just like I ain't gonna say a lack, but there was like literally no representation for for black and brown folks. We ain't gonna use the political terms, African Americans and Puerto Rican Americans, whatever. We're gonna say black and brown folks. For the most part, what it looks like to me, I don't know. That's why they got the big hats on here. Imam Muhammad Abdullah Amin, Imam Ahmad Hanna, Ustad Ahmad Hanna. Y'all gonna get to know the brother. Alhamdulillah, he's gonna be donating his time to us, and you know these brothers are from Masjid Uthman Dan Fodio and Tasdeed Sunnah Institute. I got a lot of respect for them brothers, for those, and then Amir Khalil Abdullah. Khalil Abdullah, right? That's his last name, right?
Abdullahi.
Abdullahi.
Abdullahi. Okay, yeah, I knew. I
You
just
gotta
called him
put.
Amir Khalil. So, I got to say this on wax, man. I got to put it on wax. I really, 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 really respect what y'all doing, man. I know, like, y'all grab things, y'all grabbed it by the reins, and y'all making moves independently. That's something. That's not something we really got going on. It's a tough, ugly conversation. It's a tough, ugly conversation. So we have a lack of representation, of scholarly representation for Black folks, Black and brown folks, first and foremost, and then second within our communities and as leaders of our communities. I'm in Ohio and I'm in Cincinnati. We don't have none. We got a masjid that's founded by Arabs and Pakistanis, and we don't have much representation in that masjid, and it's very, 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 very challenging. A part of that reason why is because we don't, quote unquote, have or produce qualified, quote unquote, scholarship. But on top of that, I was actually lined up to do the khutbah one time, like in our grand masjid here, when my beloved Sheikh Ismail Cartier, when he was here, he really wanted to try to diversify the things, and the khutbah got blocked. It was during Ramadan too. It was just a khutbah about Ramadan, So it got blocked, and I didn't care. I didn't want to do it anyway. He was kind of urging me to do it because he really wanted to diversify things, and he told me, he was like, they not really ready. I didn't speak with the people. There was no shura, none of that. But he was the power to be, and from the viewpoint of the powers to be, he was like, they ain't really ready for that. So it would have been like, a Black brother from the hood, from the neighborhood, on the minbar. If I don't have any other experience, y'all don't have any other experience. We don't have any other experience. So any Islamic knowledge that we might have gathered is going to be centered in and around what we go through, and there's a disconnection there. So if we were to, now, everybody can go and say fasting has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, and we could talk about the benefits and the virtues of fasting and which door you gonna go through, one of the doors, one of the special doors to Jannah during fasting. Yeah, we can narrate hadith, we can narrate ayahs, we could do that all day, but that does not hit home. That's the country club masjid standpoint. That doesn't hit home, especially for us. Especially for us. So, issue at hand. Why don't we have? Number one, let's deal with this. Why don't we have a qualified, quote unquote, qualified Black scholarship in the community? And then, inshallah, once we get everybody to weigh in, I wanna ask the brothers, and when we do get qualified scholarship, why they don't come back to the neighborhood. I got these. Y'all pretty much know Saleh. He was the first person contributing with me. Everybody knows Saleh. So, brothers, y'all go ahead. I want y'all take whoever's the oldest, whoever y'all wanted to go first. But we got the old heads, we got the old dogs in that have seen a lot. They've been a part of the whole scene for a long, 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 long time. Long time. They've been on the scene with big names before they were big names, like sitting next to each other with the same sheikh, learning the same things at the same time. That's kind of what that's the perspective that's provided by these older brothers. And before I pass the mic, also I want the viewers to know these brothers are coming out of the East Coast and up north, which is the heart of Black Islam. Like, everybody knows that Black Islam was led out east and on the north, and these brothers came up in those environments, seen all the transitions with the NOY, the more science movement, the 5%er movement, the Warith Muhammad movement, all these different quote unquote black movements, the Panthers, the when gangbangers were real heavy, all these big things. Were on the scene. They were boots on the ground when all this stuff was happening and developing. So that's important for the viewers and definitely for myself to consider. That's important for us to consider when we listening to these two brothers speaking. We got some other brothers too that's going to chime in that is of the same stature and of the same quality of individual and believer. But Imam Muhammad out of Philly, the heart of Black Islam, the heart. Y'all in the trenches. Go ahead, shoot it off, Imam. Like, why do you think we have a lack of black scholarship produced from within the neighborhood?
Well, originally, I'm from Chicago. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad al-Fatih lama ughliq wa qatim lima sabaq nasr al-haq wa haq wa hadi ila siratik al-mustaqim wa ala alihi haqqa qadrihi wa miqdarihi al-azim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim wa taslima. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Afdalu salatu wa tammu taslima ala Sayyidina Muhammadin وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ورضي الله تعالى عن هذا السادة التابعين وعلماء عاملين وأئمة أربعين مجتهدين مقلديهم إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة
وعليكم
الله
السلام
وبركاته.
ورحمة الله. Talib, all of Abdullah, my man. I'm originally from Chicago. I've been in Philadelphia like 5 years, and I can't really speak a whole lot about Philadelphia, only what I have seen so far, and that because because Masjid Uthman is like the Ahlul Sunnah oasis of Southwest Philly. So we have we're not surrounded by Wahhabi Salafi masjids. I mean, it just they scattered about. It's like where I live at, it's 4 masjids where I live at in walking distance. New masjid that just opened up down the street, and it's an African masjid. Another one a few blocks down, and around the corner from that one is another one. I mean, most of them predominantly African masjids, but they're default Wahhabi. The other way, the other way down the street is Ahlul Hadith. All right, so from what I can say is that a lot of the students of knowledge that are here, I can't so they went overseas and came back. I can't really speak on them. I can only speak on those that's in Chicago, and dating back to like maybe I want to say like 89, 1990. No, like 1990, so a lot of students had Imam Wardi Muhammad had sent some students to study in Saudi, and he sent them they studied in Jeddah. They studied in Jeddah. One of my couple of my close friends, they one studied in Jeddah for like 6 years, and he went with that group with the Imam Wardi Muhammad community. Actually, he's Imam Wardi Muhammad's nephew, one of his nephews. And another one of my friends, the Imam, he grew up in the Imam Wardi Muhammad community. However, he wasn't a part of the group that went over there. He went over there separate from them. And he only stayed 3 years, and he didn't go to Jeddah. He studied in Riyadh. So then when they came back, everyone came back with these two that I mentioned. They came back to the hood. However, the Imam Wardi Muhammad's nephew, he already had a setup. But the board of directors of Masjid al-Fatih, they wasn't prepared or ready for him to step up and give khutbah and give classes and stuff. So I had another student of knowledge that studied in Iran and Lebanon. I mean, yeah, studied in Iran and in Lebanon. He was given a khutbah, right? And he was more. I want to say he was more conducive to what they wanted, how they wanted to establish things. But because that elite board of directors was actually members of the Nation of Islam under Imam Warbdin Muhammad, they kind of like kept it on the same like guideline since Muhammad Ali had built the masjid along with
Mm,
Jabbar Muhammad. Both of them put their money together to build that masjid from the ground up.
mm,
Before that masjid was there, it was Muhammad Ali's training facility. He donated his training facility, and him and Jabba they put the money together to build a masjid. Now the a lot of the students of knowledge that came back then, they didn't put in any work in the community. They pretty much get regular jobs, take care of their family, and they just blended into the community. It wasn't until like later students went to go study and came back. They came back to the neighborhoods. You know what I mean? They came back to their people. You know what I'm saying? And that was like that first wave. The second wave, what I was explaining to you, you know what I'm saying, yesterday, we was talking about a certain individual. That was that second wave. A lot of them, when they came back, they, you know what I'm saying, many of them, they came back to their families, but they were still involved in the work of dawah. Now, by that time, we had moved from 75th to 79th Street. Master Cordier moved from 75th to 79th Street. Now, the difference between 75th Street and 79th Street is that the dynamics and the mentality of both areas is different,
mm,
right? It's very different. One is like an easy going, you know what I'm saying, easy to deal with, you know what I'm saying, neighbors are welcoming, you know what I'm saying, willing to work with something for the good. 79th Street, totally different. And that goes back historically. The atmosphere has always been like that historically. As mind you, on 79th Street was the first masjid to be built in Chicago from the ground up with the Qibla facing southeast. And actually, you know what I'm saying, the Qibla, the minbar sat on the street that goes southeast northwest, right? So when you come in the masjid, when you come in the masjid, the door is facing northwest. I mean, but you walk towards the minbar. You know what I mean, everything is southeast. So that was like the first, and that was like the Arab community. I mean, this was like back in the early teens of the 1900s, like before
mm,
1920. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? However, a lot of people who accepted Islam during that time, pre Nation of Islam, they they was from that community. It was them and some people, some brothers and sisters from Morocco that was selling. There was merchants selling silks and cleaning goods and all of that door to door. They was also giving dawah as well. It was one of my mentors. His mother, no, his grandmother accepted Islam back then,
mm,
and you know what I'm saying,
mashallah.
third generation Muslim in his family. He like 76 years old now. You know what I'm saying? He was never, his family was never a part of the Nation of Islam. You
Is
know what I'm
that masjid
saying?
still there?
It's still there, but it's not a masjid anymore. A church, they turned it into a church, and then the church left it. And the reason why it ain't been tore down, mashallah, is still intact. I mean, it's nothing falling apart or anything. But the reason why it's not tore down is because in in Chicago, they have a law that protects old
Oh
structures
yeah,
from being
yeah,
tore down. I mean,
yeah.
it's
It's
a
a
landmark.
historical. Yeah, it's a
It's a
historical.
historical landmark.
Yeah. We got that here.
Also the Regal across the street was the masthead that was actually connected to that masthead. They needed a bigger place. You know what I'm saying? It went from being a masthead to a theater, then to the Regal Theater. I mean, first, I remember when I was younger, that was the movie theater, and then they turned it into a performance theater. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And reason why I remember that is because my grandmother bought a building right across the street from there back in the early '70s before I think it was before she had went. Yeah, it was before she had went to Morocco and Andalusia. I actually went to Morocco to meet some family from Morocco that's in Morocco.
Mm.
And you know what I'm saying, and then from there went to Spain. You know, so she, you know what I'm saying,
So how
she
was
was
it
like,
in Chicago? When like onto like what you saying with Morocco, when like the brothers came from overseas in Chicago, y'all had a black Muslim presence already. How was that?
yeah, now that was like what I was just mentioned just previously. That was like past history. Like
Oh,
now, where I left off at about the second string in Chicago, that was already, you know what I'm saying, brothers coming back from Syria, and some
oh,
brothers
okay.
went to Syria during that time. A
So the
lot of
Nation
them
of
came
Islam thing
back to
had already
work in the
passed.
community. That era had already passed. You know
Okay,
what I
so
mean?
this
So
is
what I
second
had
wave
mentioned,
of that.
right, right. So
Okay,
what I mentioned at first was the first wave. You know what I'm saying? It was
okay.
actually the first wave. It was. I want to say. I don't want to say wasn't really the first wave. It was like maybe the third wave because you had some students that go over to Saudi in the '70s. I mean, two of the first masjids that was like Sunni Sunni Ahlul Sunnah was both of them no longer there anymore, but one of them one of them was founded by Sheikh Faruqi. You know what I'm saying? It was Master Umar. I mean, Allah, Sheikh Faruqi, Allah Yahamahu. And the other one was founded by Philadelphia's own Sheikh Dawood Salahuddin, Allah Yahamahu. You know what I'm saying? Who was like real good friends with Imam Luqman Ahmed's father. You know, as a matter of fact, when he returned to Allah, Luqman Ahmed and his father Abdul Karim Ahmed, they was at his janazah. You know what I'm saying? So I had already met Imam Luqman Ahmed in person. I met his
Mm.
father that time in person. You know what I
You
mean?
met him in
So you know what I'm
Chicago.
saying, that in Chicago, yeah, at Dawood Salahuddin's janazah. Also, his assistant.
Brother must have lost his connection.
What happened?
Now,
You there?
Okay.
yeah, I'm here. Somebody had called. I had to decline the call.
Oh, okay.
Um, Also, his assistant imam was Dr. Umar Farouk Abdullah. I mean, Allah Ta'ala fortify him, the Caucasian brother, historian. He's from Philly too. Um, he's from Philadelphia as well, and he's in Chicago. So that was like in the '70s. You know, in the early '70s, like coming into the '70s into the '80s. You know,
Mm.
so the most of the work in the neighborhood in regards to dawah had been done throughout the early '90s and into the late '90s.
So who was
After,
that was doing that dawah?
well, you know, it was the African American communities. It was African American Muslims. You know
So
what I'm saying? At this,
who were the like big names that were on scene at that time and that had okay? So give me an example, kind of like so. Tell us about the big names that was on scene that brought Islam to the neighborhood and how they became relevant.
Well, a lot of the, like the neighborhood where National Cardill was at, it was a lot of Muslims already in that neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? They was either from the Nation of Islam and Imam Wardin Muhammad community, or it was from the El Rukin tribe. Right? It was from the El Rukin tribe. I mean, so it was, it was always there, but like some of the work effort that was being done, I mean, like cleaning up the neighborhood was, Sheikh Rami Muhammad. He
I hear you
orchestrated
mention
all
him
of
a
that.
lot.
Huh?
I hear you mention him a lot.
Yeah, it was one of my teachers. I learned everything from him. You know what I'm saying? Learned everything from him. And
So how did they gain scholarship slash leadership?
how did they accept scholarship slash leadership? Wait a minute, hold on.
Yes.
How did they accept scholarship slash leadership?
Yeah. What was
Well,
that like? Because that's what the problem is. It's like we have guys, but but as you know, as we all know, it's not as prevalent as it should be, nor are they in the neighborhood.
the hit
I mean,
now hit
those guys are, but I'm
hit
saying we haven't we
here's
haven't
here's here's what
reproduced those guys.
here's what happened, like with National Cardill. Beginning, you're aware of Ikhwan Muslimin,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
It was a lot of brothers from Ikhwan Muslimin that used to like give not just financial support, but
Mm.
they support the masjid, but they used to also teach as well. And they respected the leadership there. I mean, they respected Sheikh Rami, right? So they didn't try to like, okay, we're helping out with our money. We want to implement our program here. They fell in line with the program that was already established and set there.
So they just
A lot of
align
them a
themselves.
lot of them was like doctors and physical therapists and the occupational therapists, and they always helped out. Helped out with Salatul Tarawih
Mashallah.
classes, Arabic classes. During this time, Sheikh Ibrahim, one of Sheikh Rami's teachers, and one of Muhammad Sharif teachers, Muhammad Alameen, has sent Sheikh Ibrahim to Chicago to teach us Arabic. And he was with us for like maybe 4 or 5 years before he had left. You know what I mean? Before he had left, he didn't go back to Sudan. He stayed in Chicago. He ended up going to the north side. He was like working at Masjid Al Latif when it was on Foster Boulevard, Foster Avenue on
So
the
all
north
these
side.
massages you mentioned, and they were all like black massages.
Yeah, yeah. See, the thing
SubhanAllah.
is, what happened when Masjid Al Fatil was open, when it before it closed down, it closed down for construction in like '93, I want to say.
Mm.
But when it was open, this was the center meeting place for all of the Muslims. If you're looking for someone, you go to the masjid, you'll find them. It was always open. At that time, it was only three African American masjids. It was Masjid Malik, Masjid Fatir, and then you had Masjid Umar in the hundreds in Roseland. All right, now West, so West, the only masjid that was West during that time was in the suburbs on 92nd in Harlem, Bridgeview. I mean, that's in the south. That's in the southwest suburbs. So in the hood, you had Dawah efforts that went on even increased after Master Fateh closed. Then Master Cordell was open. The Naqshbandis opened up the El Haqqani Center. So this was their Zawiya, and then you had a match that opened up across the tracks on 75th and 75th and Coles. and it was the South Chicago Islamic Center, South Shore Islamic Center, right? And that was headed by Imam Muhammad Sharif, from Imam War of the Muhammad community, who was also a detective, homicide detective, and he was
Mm,
a martial artist as well. So it
mm.
was like he was doing dawah in that area, Coles and South Shore Boulevard, and then we was doing dawah between Jeffrey and Yates, and then when the brothers from Jamaat Tabligh will come do their Jola, do their program, you'll say either me or Sheikh Rami or one of the brothers, we'll take them across Yates down to the Muslim brothers is out there on the corner, right? But before, before that, I want to say like the 80s, that whole area was like real prime. I mean, real prime. Muslims was out there, but it was different stuff going on. So when I came home, when I went away, for about 13 months, and when I came home, um, Masjid Qadir was now on 75th Street, was now Masjid Kaaba, right? And Amir Jamil Abdullah, he was the imam there, or the amir there. I mean, representative Imam Abdul Malik Kaaba,
So
and
all these massages was like spread throughout
spread
north, and
throughout.
south Chicago.
Right. I mean, and that's
Most of
only
them been established from guys in the neighborhood.
right, and that was only in on the south side of Chicago. I'm not even mentioning the west side. I mean, Masjid Dawah that was in the heart of the hood, right there
Mm.
on Madison Avenue. You know what I'm saying? Madison Avenue. It was like super busy there. I mean, they would call the adhan on a loudspeaker. You could hear the adhan from um, uh, 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 Karloff to like uh, I want to say California.
So how many blocks is that?
You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of blocks. That's a lot of blocks.
Okay,
You know what I
so
mean?
that's some history of the Chicago scene. Where how what
Now,
does it
now,
look like now as far as having black leaders, black scholarship, guys that are duly qualified in the neighborhood and all these massages? Do these massages still exist? They still there?
on the east side, while I was just mentioning that, the only masjid still exists, Masjid al Qadir, which the name of it now is El Furqan Dawah Center. Still same place, 7920 South Kingston, but it's just the Furqan Dawah Center because the um the original owner of the property never turned the deed over to the corporation of Jamaat Masjid al Qadir. So as a result, because you know what I'm saying, he was still paying taxes on it, and instead of he was still paying taxes on it. Had he had turned over the deed, then he wouldn't have to be paying no taxes on it at all.
Mm.
So had turned into the Furqan Dawah Center. The El Furqan Publications, they had bought the property from him. They
So
already
what are
established as a
they? Who are they?
501c3. They're a book publishing company.
Oh,
They
so
pu-
it's
they
no longer
publish they
Muslim.
publish right. They publish it. They publish books. I mean, so they kept that as a dawah center. And one of the brothers who was an imam in Masjid al Qadir, he's the imam there now. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? But at
so
first,
how's that masjid doing? Like, is that kind of a center? Is it
it's a center.
mainstream?
It's a center for dawah, but a lot of the efforts there. I think when we did our program, there in 2020. We did our second program there. I mean, in 2020. And the first program was at Masjid Dawah in 2020.
Okay.
Last year, 2021, we did everything at Masjid Dawah on the west side. No, but the imam there, that masjid is still functioning. The Dawah Center is still functioning. It's still known by by the people in the neighborhood and the people in the community that lives on the block. Still no drug selling on the block, hanging out on the block. You know what I'm saying? Any soliciting, none of that is going on that block still. I mean, it just come from the efforts that the brothers been Allah Ta'ala putting barakah in it, and brothers been at work, and
That would be the effect if we did
that
have a masajid.
masjid. I mean, Dow, the work of Dow and Tabligh is being done actively in that area. The only difference there now is that instead of like just visiting the Muslims, they they visiting the Muslims, and they talking to the neighbors. You know what I'm saying? A lot of a lot of people have taken shahada in that area. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
Let me get the brothers in. Let them chime in. Ahmad, you here?
No, I'm here.
Okay,
oh,
okay.
okay.
All right, so tell me, that's a bit of the history on the Chicago scene. Um, as far as the masajid, the brother said it sounds like in Chicago they were taking up efforts on their own and leading their own communities. Inshallah, we're gonna wrap back to the brothers to see how that's doing and
Mhm.
how that's performing now. You in and from Philly, right? No.
No,
You,
I'm
you
from Brooklyn,
Oh,
but
that's
I
right.
live
That's
in.
right.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Come on, I
you from
recognize
you from the BK.
BK all day. We don't
Okay,
play.
do you know Biggie?
No, but I know some
I
of the
had to
people
ask.
that no. I grew up. I mean, I grew up part of my life not too far from there, but like some of the like Foxy Brown and some other people, I know them. My sister was in a rap group. She still got the tape when they hired Foxy Brown and them used to rap together. So mashallah.
Allah, Allah.
But
Okay, so what is your take on why the black
no.
community has not quote unquote produced qualified scholarship? What do you
Um,
think the issue is there with that?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد ابن عبد الله عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وبعد. I think it's a couple of points that is maybe stunning our growth. I don't think that we don't have Islamic scholarship. So all right, let's bring it back. Firstly, I think the problem was that one leader sometimes our leadership has failed us, meaning our leadership didn't make the investment. Yeah, Red Hook, that's right. Didn't make the investment into securing our future. Now we've
Mhm.
had multiple Muslim movements throughout our Islamic history here in America, and they've produced some results, right? So, we had the Dar Islam movement. We had, whether you want to consider it or not, the Nation Islam, um, the Islamic Party, and so on and so forth. And they've made some investments, more of the Muhammad community for sure, because they were probably the biggest community, of African Americans in this country.
Yeah, that's true.
And they've now, so we got to, you have to give them credit, So
Yeah.
they've made some investment into scholarship, but I don't think that they moved to the next level. So they wanted to continue a program that was maybe outdated for the time, and they didn't progress. So a lot of their own followers and children and so on, they moved on to the next trending movement and so on and so forth. I think the other thing is that when we do produce scholarship, like I said, our our scholars, our students and our scholars, they're co-opted by other ethnicities or groups and so on and so forth. You can see that evidence like here in Philadelphia. With Philadelphia, you might have people that studied all over for ages. Because um, Islamic history in Philadelphia extends through generations. You have families here that have, you know, two, three, maybe four generations of Muslims,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they've had a history of, you know, learning and scholarship here, you know, for a long time. Memorization of Quran, Arabic language. I remember, subhanAllah, I remember having a conversation with a brother when I first, because I moved to Philly maybe 2000, late 99, and a dude on the corner, you know what I mean? This dude hustling. But this dude was fasih, you know, he was fluent in Arabic, and but he on the corner, you know what I mean? This is Philadelphia, you know. And
subhanallah.
so I mean, Philadelphia has that tradition of Islamic knowledge, Islamic scholarship, but the people, once they reach a certain degree, they move outside of Philadelphia or outside of the community, and they don't, you know, keep that tradition alive here in the city. And this is amongst all the communities, whether it's, you know, the Ahl Sunnah communities, whether you the Salafi community, so on. So you have a few people, but they, even them, they tend to move on eventually from here. So I think that's the one, another issue. And then I think that also we have to put together a program to start raising our children from young, you know, our own program, you know. I mean, like, and we talked earlier about, you know, for example, me and the Amir Khalil, we had the opportunity to go to a Dar Ulum, right? And this program, you know, was started and founded in India, and it spread throughout the Indo-Pac world. And they, no, they co-opt this program and they spread it wherever their communities are. They produce ulama from amongst them. And this,
Right,
and even when we went to the first meeting, when we were going to go to the program, they had one of their scholars there giving a talk to them about producing an island from every masjid, right? And he even said, because this is actually how we got in, because, you know, they were looking at us, we were the, you know, the only black faces, well, American black faces from American origin, because some of them are darker than us, you know,
yeah,
in the
right,
crowd.
right.
Actually,
So y'all
the
went to
director
India,
used
or
to.
was the Darul Ulum set
No, it's
up
a
here?
Dar Ulum in New York City, in Dar Ulum in
Oh,
Queens,
come
actually.
on, my sheikh,
Yeah,
my first sheikh, he was like big hat in Darul Ulum back in India.
yeah. Well, this one
Subhanallah.
was in, it was in Queens. They have a Dar Ulum. They actually own the whole. It used to be the old Masjid Quran was Sunnah, and that masjid moved to another place, and this was the basement of an apartment building in Queens, in Hillside, and they actually own the whole building. So the where they teach is at, you know, the masjid, and where the school is on the basement. Well, that's the health program. Then, like,
Mm,
on the first level, they have the island program, and then, you know, there's housing for the students and stuff in their apartments. And, you know, they teach,
subhanallah.
yeah, so they do a lot. They take the children out on certain days and they go slaughter like chickens and stuff for their food. So it's kind of, you know, but
Subhanallah.
their program, huh?
I said, Subhanallah. They got one
Nah,
similar
They
here,
they they
not too far from
they
us.
also have one in Buffalo. They also have one in Buffalo,
yeah, they
Chicago
have
as
one, a
well.
big one in
Right,
Buffalo. Yeah,
Abu
They
Muhammad.
got one in
oh yeah,
They
Rough
have a big
Buck.
one in
Buffalo and
Buffalo.
Chicago. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
Buffalo is a really
in
big
Chicago,
one.
they got
They have
Dar Ulum
multiple.
Deoband, and then they got Dar Qasim, which I was a student at Dar Qasim. It's a
Hmm.
part of Dar Ulum, the Dar Ulum system as well. But they have multiple
SubhanAllah.
ones. Then you have
Yeah,
you have some institutions that's connected with South Africa.
Yeah,
Sheikh
yeah,
Hussein
yeah.
Abu
but basically
Sattar,
their
he
curriculum is
yeah,
the same. It's the Darussi
it's the same as
Nizami
yeah,
system.
nah.
You know, you start out with, you know, certain books in basic, you know, Nahu wa Sarf, you know,
Yeah.
basic Hanafi fiqh, and you move, you know, you progress throughout there through, you know, Sirah, and then, you know, the final year is usually all Hadith. You know, you go through the, you know, Kutub al-Sitta, and, you know, after that, you know, you go on if you're going to go. But at that point, you've covered, you know, most of the Hanafi madhab. Your Arabic is at a certain level, so you're able to do, ba'ath and research and so on and so forth. And, you know, you have a foundation in sirah and all those prerequisite knowledge. You know, unfortunately, we didn't stay because, you know, we were influenced by other outside forces. You know, these
Yeah,
brothers is not on it and all that. No, I mean that's just a point of our development in Islam.
yeah,
But they developed a system. But what I was saying was the sheikh that came, he said that even that we have to help the people here in this country produce scholars from amongst their ranks also. And he said he made that point that, and Amir Khalil, he can attest to this. He said that they have their own issues that we can address, so we have to help them produce scholarship so that they can address the issues in their community. And that's
exactly.
one thing that scholarship
That's
has
the
to do.
punchline.
It has to, I mean, address issues because not everybody has the same issues. What affects first or second generation, even in the same community, first or second generation, Pakistanis and Arabs, they have a different reality here in America, and us having a history of the history that we have from slavery and Reconstruction and post Jim Crow and post segregation and whatever else, we have issues that affect us, and you see it even more so being intensified now. I mean, like the rate of the socioeconomic problems affecting us, and then the youth, the violence that's affecting the youth is like at an all-time high now. I know when we was coming up, it was a little later when people were in the streets, or not maybe in the streets, but we were busting our gun, as we used to say. Now it's like people at junior high and stuff, they're dying. People are dying before they even live. So I think that's another thing, is that we have to produce a system
Absolutely.
of educating our children, and particularly not only our boys but our girls, because our girls are neglected often. I mean, we can't how many I mean, we can probably name some American scholars, but how many of them are women? You know, and who are
Especially black.
training our girls? Black, yeah. And the women, like during the time of Sheikh Uthman and Fodio, they produced a system called the Untitled system, which were women educating women in the deen and bringing them up. And by educating the women, you educate your child, you educate the community at large, and that's the thing that's often neglected. So we have to produce those particular systems that help educate our youth and our women, so that we can address the issues in our community. Now, inshallah.
So what?
I
So
mean,
why do
that's
you
really.
think? Why do you think we don't slash haven't or don't have a Darul Ulum in the neighborhood?
I think that part of the problem is that when we,
Hold on, let me be clear because we
like,
do have need to assume the institute. So, but y'all just kind of got
no,
wrong
inshallah.
for real. So, we'll talk, but we plug that in later. But technically,
No, inshallah. No, but the thing is, I think that what happens is that when we send our our people go and we go study, what happens also is that we get co-opted by those issues that affected that particular community or country that we went to go study in. So we could still come back, we arguing Indo-Pak problems or outer problems. We get caught up in theological differences and philosophical differences that have been affecting that hasn't been solved in thousands of years, and we project that onto everybody else instead of like staying the course. We're going to get what we can, and we're going to deal with our people, and that's what we have to do. Because I mean, as long as we continue, so that causes all the infighting and breakups and so on, and we get nowhere. We keep spinning the wheel, and we never move from our place.
that's deep. That's very,
No,
very, very,
inshallah.
very, very deep. That's very deep. Let me spin solid hand. Cause he old.
No,
He been
inshallah.
fell asleep.
Sorry.
Man, I'm,
Solid,
I'm
you
off
in
these. I'm off these drugs, man. I gotta get my coffee, man. I'm riding off of 3 espresso shots.
Oh man, subhanallah.
Oh man, alhamdulillah. That was a very strong point, Ustaduna Ahmad made. When we send our folks from the neighborhood, when we send them off, or when they do make a sacrifice, like our very own Abu Isa, he made a great sacrifice to go to Egypt and learn, and he's like wholly dedicated to come back to the neighborhood. Inshallah ta'ala, he stays motivated. Salih, from your experience, me and you around the same age, I wanted to get the big hats, get the old hats, get the old dogs, the
You're
OGs
older.
in.
You're older. You're older.
Yeah, yeah,
You
right.
had to
Okay,
let that be known, right, Solid?
Yeah,
Gotta put it out there.
you had to let it be known that you the youngin in the group, huh?
yeah, right.
But
The brother,
alhamdulillah was
the brother does need a wife too. So he's the younger brother in the group. So he's young. He fresh. He ready. But no, alhamdulillah, from a younger perspective, now we got our elders' perspective. Imam Abu Muhammad, he explained to us the Chicago scene, how they roll up north. Chicago has really been like very, very independent, always with everything they do. I don't care if it's street stuff, gang stuff, whatever. They always been very, very independent. And we're gonna pick back up where the brother left off at, inshallah. He explained to us how brothers was on the scene and brothers was very, very proactive, stepping up. Now I lost count how many masajid he listed that that was in different parts and different hoods and different streets, different blocks. In Cincinnati, nothing and like that ever existed, ever, none whatsoever. And I don't think in any other cities in Ohio either. Maybe Cleveland, because y'all Cleveland got an East Coast connection. But what is your take on your experience? Because you've been Muslim a very long time. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. So you young, but in Islamic years you really old. So you've been seeing a lot of stuff from a younger standpoint, from the youth standpoint. Why do you think we are not producing quote unquote qualified scholars to come back to the neighborhood?
Okay. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. What I have seen, right, is that the major thing why we do have scholarship, right? But the movement of the Wahhabis negated that by saying that no one can be a scholar from the West, right? So even if you are intensive, a person who's in their 50s who learned for 20 odd years, 30 years, you still aren't labeled as a scholar because no scholar can be here in the West, right? Your point, your peak is just a tolerable elm, no matter how old you get, right? So this is the stigma of what goes on in the communities here, in which over the time it was developed to subconsciously people think that, right? So you have to go overseas, you have to go learn, you have to sit with the sheikh. But then once you did that, and after you did that and you became an old man, you're still not labeled as a scholar. You're just labeled as a student, and you're 80 years old. That's the thing that killed the development of scholars here, because there's no such thing as a scholar on the West, right? So that's the major thing that killed the Philadelphia region, the New York region, the New Jersey region, and the Baltimore, DC. This is the main thing that killed scholarship, right?
That's all of us. So that's a big problem.
That's a big problem. It's a big problem. So now this is being pushed, and it's being pushed that the only thing you can be, right? So to a degree, this is discouraging. This is like discouraging the youth wanting to become a scholar, because the only thing you can be is just a student. It's like saying that I went to school to be a heart surgeon, and all you can say, and the doctor say, no, you can't be a heart surgeon, even though you qualified. You got your master's and everything else. The only thing you could be is a nurse.
So how do you think that stigma developed?
It developed to just us personally, and I could be wrong. Us black people thinking we can't be nothing more, nothing less than what we are.
And that's just a social issue that we have. We deal with that all the way around the board. We don't believe we could
Exactly.
be doctors, lawyers, uh, politicians, policemen and women, anybody of quote unquote social significance. We have a stigma about thinking that we can accomplish those things at those levels. So do you
Exactly.
think that kind of, we brought that into our Islam?
Yes, we have. If you think about it, was I explained to you a couple of days ago. I said, here where we're at here, that the streets and Islam are intertwined with each other. They have an entanglement, right? You can't differentiate what's the difference because it's intertwined with each other. It's okay to wear izar 30 seconds, and after the 30 seconds, you're at the bar, right? So these are the things that we have to eliminate. Like you said, being an educated person in our communities is not cool. Being smart is not cool. Let alone say if somebody wanted to be a cop. When I was growing up, we may say, yeah, we had to play the cat and mouse game, but we respected some police because the police grew up in our neighborhoods. The cop knew
Right.
your mother. The cop knew your sister. He know who you was. He know if you wasn't selling drugs, he knew everything, right? So now we're taking that out where it's not cool to even have a young man that wants to have a career as a police officer, even though this is a great career because we need our people policing our neighborhoods,
Facts.
right?
Big
So,
facts.
so,
Big facts.
Yeah.
so we're destroying everything of being a productive young man or a productive young woman in our society. It's not cool, right? It's only cool to turn up. It's only cool to be this, and the only thing they push for us now, if we look, is to be a rapper or a basketball player or to
Or
be an
the plug.
Instagram model or the plug, right? Or,
Everybody on
or be an
Facebook is the
Instagram
plug.
model, right? So these are the
Don't none of
things we
y'all
gotta,
dudes make no money.
right, right. So
Right.
these are the
So
things we
so
gotta
so from your
start pushing out our
perspective,
communities.
so from your perspective, we have brought our social ailments into Islam.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I
And
was
another,
that was going to be my point when I was going to take my turn to speak on it. I'm gonna piggyback off of that, but go ahead.
and the other problem, right, is two things that we have to start doing, right? We have to start sacrificing, right, and investing. Sacrificing and
What do you
investing.
mean?
Sacrificing meaning as, you know, allowing our children to go away to learn, right? Because if you see a lot of parents in our community, we don't, we want our children here. We don't want our children to leave. We spoil our children, we keep them underneath us. But we will invest in them to go to college for 4 years. They could be away from us for 4 years to go to college, but to become a scholar, we don't want to invest that time and effort for them to go. So we got to start sacrificing our children to make that, right? And investing more into our children, right? Investing more into our children. And this is the problem we are having now where we're not investing. Like, I'll give you an example that we may have a child, a problem, not even a problem child, right? Because, we have to start, sending the best of our children to become scholars. So we can have great scholars when they come back, right? So we need to take that little guy, right? That little guy who didn't have love and didn't have that, that person to show him, to guide him. Send him off. Send him off. Let him go learn. Let him go see it's something better. And then, let him come back and teach the people. Why? Because he will understand. He didn't have love. He didn't have this. So he will have an effect on the youth that some of us can't reach. So we got to start investing and sacrificing our children. And that will be the cure. And as long as we're not doing that, we're going to stay staggered, and Islam is going to disappear with the elders.
Mm. I mean, it's kind of already have, like we was talking before we started the show. It's like 100-year-old people in the masjid, and then that's it, right?
And that's it. And that's it. You got the guy who been in the masjid, for years in the same, sit in the same spot every time you come in. He right there behind the musalla. I mean, behind the imam's rug. He sits there, he reads, all of them. But then the kids, the younger guys that's in their 30s, they're in the back waiting to go right back to work.
Yep, yep, yep. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna piggyback a little bit off of what Salih said and a little bit off of what Ustad Ahmad said. Um, First thing, I believe, like what you said, our social ailments, our social ailments. We have turned a blind eye to the fact that we came out of slavery, we came out of Jim Crow. Everybody is, and a lot of people don't like to talk about it. We That's why I say we turn a blind eye to it. But um, your history is your future. It's your roots. It's kind of like if you have a grandfather who bought land some time ago and he passed the land to his son passed that land to his son, so on and so forth. This thing was passed down. That great thing that your grandfather did, you took benefit in it. You took benefit of it. Your father's father's father inherited it. He gave it to your grandfather. Then that property was in the family to your father, and then now I'm of age. Now I have the property. That property, i.e., that we have inherited, is is slavery. That I said that to say that slavery and Jim Crow knocked us all. I mean, everybody know what it did to us as a people. So everybody else had a head start in life, and we got to start light years behind. So a blind eye has been turned towards that. So we don't have any money. If we don't have any money, you can't even have an education, because it takes money to have education all the way around the board. You got to have some type of money. I mean, you can go hard in school, in your public school or whatever, which is kind of hard with all the conditions that we have to endure on a daily basis, which is the reason why we have the lowest graduation rates and percentages in the whole nation out of all epochs of people. In our neighborhoods where we go to school, it's kind of hard to attain the merit to get some type of scholarship, and then now you can afford college. But we're up against people who don't have those hurdles, those civil rights hurdles, in order for them to to be able to afford college, and then afterwards be able to afford a decent lifestyle. As we all know, we were actually legally conspired against for us to not to progress with redlining and housing and the black code laws and all of that. I brought all that up to say um, we are the only ones that endured that. So we have nothing to work with. We don't have nothing to work with. So we're trying to establish our own masajid. We're trying to be Muslim. We're trying to do the right thing, whatever. We don't have any money. We don't have money to be able to in our jama'at, in our jama'ats. We don't have money to put together to say, oh, this young man, we having a residential imam that's qualified, and the imam has been teaching Jum'ah, he's been teaching Ta'aleem, so on and so forth. And then, we see a young, shining student that belongs to the Hanna family. And me being the sheikh, I'm like, oh yeah, we need to send that brother, we need to send that young brother over. See, this is what I see, like here in Cincinnati. This is what I've seen with our brothers, like with our Arab brothers, our Pakistani brothers. This is what I've seen. They have like young up and coming, like they have the madaris. The kids are learning. Some shine more than others. Boom, they grab the ones that did good out. They put the money together in the community and they send them off to whatever institution it is that masjid is connected with. And then now, 4 or 5 years later, this brother's leading Tarawih. They're working him into the program to be able to provide for the community. We don't have communities established for the most part. We don't have communities established where we can gather those funds, pool those resources, afford an imam, and take our youth or take anybody who could possibly be qualified and invest into them being educated properly, and then brought back to the neighborhood and served the neighborhood, and that right there would translate into curing the social ailments that we see on a daily basis in the hood. That's why this is a huge problem, and we have to get that conversation rolling, and get that conversation started. So my take on that is that, of course, we like what all the brothers said. They were kind of like in the thick of it. I wasn't, and seeing it from kind of sitting back and looking at it. The reason why we have storefront masajid and so on and so forth is because we just don't have the money. Black people are the poorest people in this country, so it reflects no matter what it is that we do. So, like Saleh said, we're dragging our social ailments into Islam. That social ailment alone, us being the descendants of slaves and inheriting poverty and inheriting civil marginalization, those things right there. When I decided to become a Muslim, it doesn't make me rich or not rich. It doesn't, bring me up to par as an American citizen. So I think that's the biggest issue, the contributor to why we haven't or we can't produce so-called qualified scholarship is because we don't. I mean, our brothers and sisters, they haven't really invested in us and invested in our community, our Arab and Pakistani brothers. They haven't like really, like, they set up their institutions, and if you can fight through all of the stuff, you got all of the distractions and all of the harsh things the harsh realities you got to face on an everyday basis in the neighborhood, and you can make it to a Darul Uloom. That is like very, very, very rare. Most of us get sucked into somehow, some way, the fitna that's inside of our communities. So it just turns into a revolving circle. Brothers, it's exceptional to have brothers like Ahmad Hanna, brothers like my good friend. He should be on here. He should have been on here. Imam Nadir, Saleh, Imam Muhammad. That's exceptional. Abu Isa. The brother went. I keep saying it. Like, the brother put up his own funds and his own money to go overseas and to go and search out and go and to learn. That's like exceptional. That's exceptional. That's not the norm. So that's why we're not producing. That's my take on why we're not producing at the rate that we should. The link is in the group. Nadir. We're not pooling any type of resources. We don't have any money, so really nobody's trying to ally with us. We got a vicious revolving circle. So I want to transition it so we can hurry up and wrap this up. Brothers, are y'all here? I only see y'all. Are y'all still here? Solid. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. It's back on you, Imam Muhammad. I want to the second question with this conversation. When we have had guys survive the hood and make sacrifices, guys like yourself, you in the neighborhood, guys like yourself, we know the big names, we know the big black names who have become scholars. We know them. What is your take on when they survive the neighborhood and then they become scholars, why they don't come back to the neighborhood and set up institutions so that we can cure this problem?
Why they don't come back to the neighborhood?
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's very simple. A lot of the students of knowledge that come back to the States, many of them they need money. I mean, so if they don't find gainful employment, then
Nyla,
the only
what's up?
Assalamualaikum.
Yeah, you hear me? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to call my daughter. My fault.
That's great. That's my wife's name. Alhamdulillah. I was like, hold up, why does brother call her my wife? What? The program ended. I lost all focus. I'm like what? Because she here, she listening. I'm like, hold on. I'm funny. My bad, Mama. Go ahead.
All right, so yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my camera. I probably didn't accept the camera or whatever. But anyway, if they don't find gainful employment, then the next best thing that they have to do, they have to either set up an institution or get connected with someone who's connected to an institution to where they can make money, where they can get some employment. Like some brothers, I don't want to mention any brothers' names. However, a great part of their income come from them giving lectures, giving classes, giving darses, traveling around the country. And that's fine. However, the same sacrifice that they made to go study, to gain their Islamic knowledge, they're in a position with aligning themselves with these institutions to actually pull other brothers in to where they can gain knowledge too, or have their time allotted to where they'll be actively teaching and in the trenches. You follow what I'm saying? Majority of the students of knowledge before they become, no one is actually funding them. And if someone is funding them to go study, sponsoring them to go study, when they come back, they have to be on their program until their contract is up. So that takes time away from them being active in the community. It's like
Wow.
for example, you have brothers who Allah Ta'ala blessed them to have knowledge, gave them understanding of the deen and gave them knowledge of the Arabic language, knowledge of fiqh, knowledge of creed, knowledge of tasawwuf, and they're active in practicing and implementation. However, they never went anywhere to study, but they're on the ground level. They in the trenches. They're putting in the work. And I don't want to say superstar imams or superstar da'is or ustads that's in these institutions that's making money. They're where they at, and the people who's in on boots on the ground, they're where they're at. I mean, so you have like individuals that want you to believe or put the persona out there that in order for you to be um, identified or recognized of having knowledge is that you have to go overseas and study, which is not true. You know what I'm saying? So the validation that people are looking forward to or looking to, they, you know what I'm saying, they're only looking at these guys, not the people who are right there in the trenches with them, putting in the work, you know what I'm saying, putting in the work and aiding and utilizing, bringing this light to the people. So, you know what I'm saying, the problem is not just the lack of scholarship. We have scholarship. I mean, we have have programs and have curriculums to where we could utilize and help our people. You follow what I'm saying? It's just that a lot of the brothers who come back from overseas, they're not interested right away. You know what I mean, in establishing a connection with the inner city. You know what I mean, with these inner neighborhoods to guide our people to Islam, and they're much needed, as well as those who are already got their bootstraps strapped up, laced up, and they're on the ground level. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying. Everyone plays a part. The only problem is that people feel the need to be validated. You follow what I'm saying? They feel the need to be validated and a lot of them feel the need that they need to be validated too. You know what I'm saying? So
So you think they kind of just lose sight when they come back?
I think they when they come back, they lose sight of the main goal and the objective of why they went over there to learn in the first place. They went over there to learn to teach the people, not just gain knowledge for themselves, but to actually spread that knowledge as well. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole purpose. Like the purpose of learning is to implement the commands. That's the purpose of learning. You mean you if you learn it and you're not practicing, then your knowledge is actually dead. It's not nothing coming from it. You know what I'm saying? You may not even be given any getting any barakah from it for yourself. Actually, you know what I'm saying, the knowledge that you learn all them years become a proof against you instead of a proof for you.
La ilaha illallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect
I
us from
mean,
that.
I
Man,
mean,
Brother Ahmed, are you on here?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your take on this? What do you think the issue is as far as when we do have qualified scholarship, why they don't come back to the neighborhood and set up
Nah,
institutions where we can produce our own scholars from our community, from the neighborhood, and then we can represent, our own issues instead of,
nah,
arguing with the people at the mosque to put the issue on the board. I had to throw that in
nah.
there.
No, I agree with Imam Muhammad said is that money. I mean, we gotta be real. I mean, they're leaving from a community, they don't really have the resources when they leave. Then they coming back, they don't have money, and we not supporting them. You know, it has to be a trade. They're making a sacrifice to go study Ireland and bring it back. We have to support them monetarily, and you'll see that every other community does that. You have like with Ramadan is soon. You're gonna have the Huthab come from different places, and I know I've been to different masajid. Like at the end, after the Hafiz, he completes the Quran. Community gives him money, and that might be the only money he get for the whole year, but it's enough to sustain him. You know, and different teachers and so on, they do the same thing for them. And sometimes we have that that poor man's I don't want to make, I know some other people coined that, but that poor man's mentality, like we want something for nothing. You know, people got to live, people got to eat. Let's be serious. I mean, we go out and we work. Our teachers in schools, they're compensated. We don't just go through school and say, you went to school all these years, just teach us, arithmetic and algebra and, English grammar and not be compensated. So we compensated on a secular level, our teachers through whatever means, government through taxes or, property taxes and so on and so forth. We have to support our scholars. And this was the thing. I mean, traditionally we used to have the Okaf that supported the scholars in every region, and so we have to do that. If we want our scholarship to stay within our community, we have to support them financially. And I mean, I think that's just the clear cut case there is.
Yeah,
I don't see
we're gonna
no.
need another show to talk about how we can accomplish that. Uh
No, because I
Solid.
mean, like
Oh, my
they
bad, my
come
bad. Go
back,
ahead.
and I'm sorry, they come back. And, where they gonna live? How they have families, how they going to support their families. If you want them to do that, they can't juggle a job. And I mean it's possible, but that's going to take away the time. So we really want them to be in our communities and fulfill that, what we want, that premise of teaching. We have to support them, it's just as clear cut as that. Now the immigrants, they're going to do that, so that's why they go where they can go to support their family. And I don't blame them for that. But so I think we need to step up on our side for that and support our scholarship, inshallah.
Mm, mm. But what do you think, Solid?
This is just so deep rooted, right? I'm just listening, right? Money is the problem, but we got to start building generational wealth to be able to support these type of long-term goals. right? Because we could say we could support them. If we do the statistics on the average income of the average African American male, you put it up. What was it, $13,000 per year?
No doubt. No,
I
we
think.
we average like $30,000 a year, but the average net worth of a black person is like 13,000 a
Right.
year.
So now, just listen to that. Right. Listen to that. What am I going to do when my rent is 1,600, 1,200? I have 3 kids, because we have to think about all of this. It's consensus.
Right,
The average African American home has 3 kids in their home, right? And you
right.
have now some of the women now are having 8, 7. So we have 7 kids in our home. Rent is $1,200. I have to, gas is $3 and odd cent. Meals, how are we going to be able to support this? We got to start, gaining generational wealth, right? With our children, right? Because everything goes back to our kids. The kids are the inheritors of the masjid. They are going to be the future. Everything starts with them. If we have kids, we have to know our children, who is going to do what. We need to push them to be this. Just think about which one of us seen the movie of what's the tennis player's name? The
Serena.
girls,
Venus and
Serena and
Serena.
the father pushed them, pushed, pushed, pushed. I know what I want y'all to do, and y'all going to be the best at it. With us now, since we're getting, the mothers and the fathers are being younger and younger, how can we push the children when we're not even pushed from our parents, and we're only 30s and 20s, So it's just it's very deep rooted, right? But we got to know our children. I want him to be this, and I'm going to push him to be this with love, not with harshness, right? We got to get the 1950, 40 mind state out, right? But we got to push them with love and understanding. We got to let them know that we care, and we want you to do this because we want you to accomplish big things. So when the years to come, they can be able to support them as shit. See, the reason why they're able to do this, because a foreigner, their whole community is based upon electrical engineers, doctors, all these other, they're making 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 a year. Some of them own some of the biggest Hajj companies. So we're talking about multi-million-dollar companies, right? So one guy can say, what is what does he want a year? 100,000? I got that. That's no
Yeah,
problem. I'll write him a check. I'll write it
the
as a tax
mustard
write-off.
here, the central mustard here. It was 1 year. I was sitting with our sheikh, and I was talking to the brother. Just didn't know who I was talking to. And he was like, "You know who that is?" I was like, "No." He was like, "It's such 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 such." He paid all of the utilities for a whole year. The one man. I was like,
Okay, I went to doing with the Tabligh, right? I went with them to Islamic Society of Baltimore, right? And during that time they was having a fundraiser. I seen them raise close to $450,000 within an hour, right? $450,000, right? When we think about our programs, the most we probably get is 10. The
we ain't
most.
even we ain't even
And we
got no
might not even
Yeah.
program
hit that,
here.
right?
We have
These
nothing
African
going
American
here.
summits, they probably leave out $2,000, right? $3,000 raised up, and is a packed crowd. It's a packed crowd. So we got to think of, we also need to start, having, economic awareness. Start knowing about money. Start how we move money, how we do this. Start learning about these, these organizations, because some of us, have these nonprofits with the message. Learn how we can get money. All these says nothing wrong with reaching out to gain money, to make money. We think about it in the streets, right? We say, oh, sometimes we be so prideful that we say, oh, I'm not going to get this guy any money, right? I'm not going to ask these people any money. But when we was in the streets, we may take a certain amount of something from somebody, flip that to make more money, and we off on our own. There's nothing wrong with utilizing something that somebody gives us to make something more out of it, right? So we gotta push the pride aside. We gotta, start pushing our children, because it may not start with us, right? It may not start with us, but it can start with our children, and inshallah ta'ala, they will be productive young Muslims in the future, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. So my only take on this is everything y'all just said. Everything that y'all just said. We all just said the same thing. We have to develop some type of support for number one, for producing scholarship, and supporting the scholarship, especially amongst ourselves. We all making our own individual efforts, and we all help each other out. We help each other out. One of our brothers in our group, he needed some help from studying. We all pitched in and supported our brother. Alhamdulillah, so inshallah, that's what these conversations can turn into is, maybe inshallah we can establish some organization where actually, that's one thing on my bucket list. That's the reason why I want to get this conversation going. Inshallah, we can launch a national fundraiser when we can get this effort funded, and individuals like ourselves, because we all work. I could tell you one thing, man. I was in the joint and I didn't have any bills and I wasn't married or none of that. Man, listen, there was no limit to something that I could memorize, I could learn. Literally, the vast majority of the stuff that y'all hear me talking about is stuff that I learned when I was in prison, not when I was out. I'm hustling, bustling. I'm running a business, trying to start a second business, trying to take care of a family, spending time with the family. All these things are, weighing down on us and giving us a distraction, like Saleh said, and we can't compensate our potential. Everybody that's in our group, that's in the 18 group, we all have alhamdulillah, we have the potential to learn, and we are all funding our own efforts to learn. If we put together a campaign and we gathered up some money wherever we gathered it up from, for this type of initiative, and everybody that's in our group, and we split the money so that we can all go and study, or we can sit down and study what we already working on and finishing. Man, alhamdulillah, it'd be done. It'd be done. But since we have so many we from the neighborhood, I can't say that enough. It's hard for us. It's hard, which is the reason why we stepping up. Alhamdulillah, we learn what we learn. We making a link with the people to the shuyukh and two qualified shuyukh, and we working on finishing our studies. But we have to step up. That's what this is. I know some people don't like that, but at the end of the day, ain't nobody boots on the ground. We boots on the ground. We got some individuals that that'll deal with our issues, because that's the objective is providing hidayah for our community. We don't live in other communities, like Ustadana Ahmad said in the beginning. We don't live in Kashmir or whatnot, even though some of our brothers might have went and spent time in Kashmir and then learned and sat with Sheikh such and such, and then boom, when he come back, that was his experience. He had that experience. He was turned out with that. We hear boots on the ground, and still living in the communities, still very engaged with the communities, still very we're in the communities. We your neighborhood guys. So that's why we stepping up and saying something, having these conversations, trying to build this initiative. This is a tough conversation to have, because there are individuals we are connected with on both sides. But we have our rights. We taken this issue to court. We have our rights as Muslims. We are Muslims, and we're. I don't want to say we're oppressed. Well, we as Black people, we are definitely oppressed, and that oppression is following us into our Islam. So this is just our voice out about this issue, about this problem. My sheikh, who I was who I mentioned earlier in the show, who he was a scholar of the highest right. He wasn't a mujtahid, but he was very qualified, highly qualified. Sheikh Ayub Muhammad al-Hansbai al-Hanafi. He came out of Darul Ulum. He came out of Darul Ulum, the program that Ustad Ahmad just mentioned to us, and when he spoke earlier, he looked me in my face. It was an instance when I was on fire with my reversion to Islam, and I was learning this, learning, and the things that I'm incorporating, it was helping me. Mind you, I was in prison, so I'm like, I got to make a radical change. I have to literally make a radical change. I have to change right now. I don't have to be. It's not like in there like it is out here where you can just kind of bit by piece. If you don't change in there, it can cost you your life, literally. So me and the brothers that were in prison, we have to make a radical change. And he was answering all my questions. He was giving me light. He was giving me guidance. And I was like, listen, I'm gonna send my baby mom, me and her, we were engaged at the time. I was like, I'm gonna send my baby mom over there, both of them. I had some girlfriends at the time. I was like, I'm gonna send them over to the masjid. I want you to talk to them. I wanted them to talk to my mom. I wanted him to talk to everybody. I found out he had a masjid. I was about to write everybody up. I actually, matter of fact, wrote a bunch of letters. Was like, hey, listen, I'm learning this. I just learned that. Boom, boom. I'm writing 10-page letters. I'm like, listen, I'm my sheikh, my teacher. Boom, boom, boom. He got it. He figured it out. Like, hey, they all check it. I was ecstatic. And he stopped me and he looked me dead in my face and he said, almost verbatim, these exact words: "It is not me that will guide your people." He said, I look funny and I talk funny. It's going to be you that's going to guide your people. And I was like, I looked at him and was like, what? I was like, I don't know nothing about Islam. I'm learning it from you. I'm in prison because I'm not a Muslim. And I'm a criminal. I don't know nothing. I'm like, how in the world you expect me to do that? He said, I'll teach you the Quran and I'll teach you the Sunnah. And at that moment, I was like, SubhanAllah. The light bulb went off. I was like, SubhanAllah. Now, that didn't mean that he wasn't going to, because Sheikh Ayub he was foremost. And also my other Sheikh Rami, him and they were foremost in taking up the initiative in the neighborhood out the Black community. My other Sheikh Rami, he actually went as far as to create a curriculum where Muslim inmates, most of the Muslim inmates were from the neighborhood. They were Black and Latino, the vast majority of us. He created a curriculum so that we can learn traditional Islam, and we can stop getting a hold of all these books and all these pamphlets from all these, various groups or whatnot who are not Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And I took those courses with him. Those are only two individuals that I know that are like specializing in dealing with, and still on top of that, Sheikh Rami is all about empowering us and sending us back into the community. He's not trying to be the one that's going and doing, even though he is. He has been, him and my first sheikh, they were training us to come and do what we're doing now. So there's not a lot of that. That's why I mentioned that. We can't depend on that. We do not have a lot of that, and that's a problem. Please don't let that be like against anybody, but for the most part, we have to take the responsibility of this ourselves. And like the brother said, like we all agreed on, each time when we spoke, we have to pool our resources. We have to teach what we can, or have our youth or qualify or individuals with potential. We have to pool the resources and be able to support them. And then once they're done studying or whatnot or what have you, we have to be able to build support for them. We have to. So y'all heard it on this. Y'all heard it on this show. We just put it out there. Now we got to get to work. Inshallah, that's gonna be another talk. We're about out an hour and a half. Y'all, that was my closing statement. Y'all brothers, y'all got anything to close out with?
No, I'm fine. It was, it was well said. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah ta'ala, we just make our intentions to stay, steadfast on this course, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us guided on this course as well, and just, protect us through these hardships that may be struggles for us to even get there, inshallah. So
I mean,
it was very
Abu
well said.
Muhammad,
It was very well said.
got any closing remarks?
Nah, I don't have any closing remarks.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Well, we're gonna let y'all get back to y'all Sunday evening. I think everybody's watching football. They ain't watching us, but it'll be posted, alhamdulillah, on our pages. I appreciate y'all brothers coming out. Inshallah ta'ala, I want to continue this conversation so that I would like, with soon for us to talk about how we could, put some ideas about how we can begin building, building this idea that is needed, because at the end of the day, if we don't have hidayah in our neighborhoods and in our communities, the bullets are not going to stop. They're not going to stop. They're going to continue. The degradation of our women, that's going to continue. This is what's at hand, not just playing follow the leader. And that happens a lot. We're not concerned with just playing follow the leader. We're actually trying to build initiatives that are going to have an effect on our community. That's what's at stake. So these conversations have to be had, and the initiative must be built. So with that being said, we're gonna sign out. Inshallah ta'ala, we're gonna keep the content coming as much as we possibly can. Y'all be patient with us. We working, brothers. We are everyday neighborhood guys. So I love y'all all for the sake of Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for anything that we said wrong or anything that we say wrong. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like Saleh said, give us the tawfiq to accomplish this initiative, and then finally give our people freedom and peace. I love y'all for the sake of Allah. Aqulu qawla hadha wa astaghfirullah wa astaghfirullah wa la ilaha illallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah ta'ala, go to the
Wa
group too.
alaikum
You'll
salam
see
wa rahmatullahi wa
you'll see
barakatuh.
where we starting at now. You see that the movement is starting already. So go
And
into the chat
please
and you
share the
see, and it
video.
could be the next tool.
Please share
share.
the
Oh yes,
video.
yes. This is Black Muslim Media. Share it. Just like the big sheikh from Saudi, he say something slick. We just said a lot of slick stuff. So yes, share. If y'all agree with it, if y'all don't agree with it, I always say that. Share it and let somebody clown us and be like, look at these idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. And then maybe that guy has the answer to all these questions. We raising the issues. If we trying to get the conversation flowing. I'm sick of the country club khutbahs. I'm sick of them. We all know we got to fast. We know we got to pray 5 times a day. We all know we got to get married. We all know we got to salam. We all know we got to want for our brother what we want for ourselves. Let's get to the crux of these issues. Let's get to the roots of these issues. That's what we doing on this platform. That's what this initiative and the brothers that's coming on here and speaking, that's what we doing. We're not trying to gain views. We're not trying to get subscriptions. None of that. We know ain't nobody got no money anyway. So, but no, we just try to get this conversation going. And I think this is very much so needed. This is Black Muslim Media. So just like people share funny videos and stuff, we at least dropping the knowledge of having these conversations that are not being had. Everybody turning a blind eye. So like the brother said, like and share. We don't have no subscriptions going, so I can't say subscribe, but like and share as much as y'all possibly can. Let's get this thing thrown into the algorithm, and let's get that way when it's thrown into the algorithm and when it's put out there and everybody's sharing it, we can consolidate. People gonna be hearing it. People be like, "Hey, y'all, I like that idea." Boom, boom, boom. We can get something started, and maybe we can save Philadelphia. I'm gonna sign out with that. All right, I love y'all, brothers. I'll hit y'all in a little bit, man. Get ready to pray and watch me a little TV and get up so I can go to sleep so I can go to work. All right, salam alaikum, y'all.
Wa alaikum assalam.